Let's talk about trade. Donald Trump has started yet another trade war, this one with our ally Canada. Yeah, Trump is hitting one of our biggest allies, Canada, with steel and aluminum tariffs. He's also hitting Mexico as well as the European Union. There had been a 2-month exemption for them. That exemption is being eliminated. The initial announcement came from Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. He said that they were doing it, didn't really say much about why, nor what Canada, Mexico, and the EU can or should do to have these tariffs removed. And the EU immediately announced counter tariffs. Canada immediately announced counter tariffs, as well as a total condemnation of the policy. And here's Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau making the announcement.
Today, we find ourselves the target of punitive tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel under pretext of a 232 national security provision. Let me be clear. These tariffs are totally unacceptable. For 150 years, Canada has been the United States' most steadfast ally. The numbers are clear. The United States has a $2 billion surplus in steel trade with Canada. And Canada buys more American steel than any other country in the world. Indeed, we account for half of U.S. steel exports. Canada is a secure supplier of aluminum and steel to the U.S. defense industry, putting aluminum in American planes and steel in American tanks. That Canada could be considered a national security threat to the United States is inconceivable. These tariffs are an affront to the long-standing security partnership between Canada and the United States, and in particular, an affront to the thousands of Canadians who have fought and died alongside their American brothers in arms. I want to be very clear about one thing. Americans remain our partners, our allies, and our friends. This is not about the American people. We have to believe that at some point, common sense will prevail.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure about common sense prevailing when Trump is still in the White House. Remember when we had a leader that could speak coherently and eloquently? It wasn't that long ago, right? But it's still jarring when you see Justin Trudeau compared to Trump.
But at least we can still be friends. That's a good thing.
I guess that's what he's saying with the people anyway. Canada has immediately announced they are putting dollar-for-dollar tariffs on American steel, aluminum, whiskey, orange juice, other food products, and other products. In total, the dollar amounts will be the same. Again, these are dollar-for-dollar tariffs, and this is already hurting American business. There are architectural firms reporting that the price of domestic aluminum plates has gone way up. This is something they are experiencing as a result of the China tariffs. Now it's going to get even worse. Trump says he's all about the real estate industry, the construction industry. This hurts those industries directly. I have a friend in the concrete business who's being hurt by the tariffs, says it's going to get even worse because of this, because of what are called the costs of complementary goods. Like when you put a tariff on steel and aluminum and the cost of construction goes up and people do less of it, complementary businesses like concrete for pouring foundations, for example, start to get hurt. Not all of this is from the tariffs themselves, because not every element of these tariffs have been enacted. But what starts to happen is when the tariffs are announced, businesses will start pre-buying some of the materials that will become more expensive, and that drives the prices up. And it's not just Canada responding. Mexico has also responded, according to the Associated Press. Mexico answers U.S. tariffs with its own on products including pork bellies, grapes, apples, and flat steel. Just you wait until avocados from Mexico cost $6 each. The hipsters will rage. And this trade war stuff has become basically a geopolitical penis-sized contest. Trump doesn't understand trade. This is not going to be good for the American people or for American business, period. It will be bad for jobs. It will make things more expensive for Americans. And George W. Bush tried some of this nonsense, lost a bunch of jobs, then ended up kind of backing off of it. And Trump may not have the same sense or common sense or shame, I guess, that Bush ultimately decided to consider when backing off. But this is a government that is sort of government by ADHD, or government by Fox and Friends, or government by incompetence, or some combination, right? I don't know exactly what to call it. The summit with Kim Jong-un is on, then it's off, then it's back on. tariffs are on, but Canada's exempted, but we're canceling the exemption, so we actually are going to tariff Canada. There's this this delusional element. I'm getting choked up because this is so insane. There's a delusional element to Trump's policy that is incredibly dangerous. And if there was ever a case for using the 25th Amendment for the removal of a president, it's this continued erratic nature of bad policy enacted on a whim and eliminated just as quickly, which has made the United States once again a laughingstock around the world. And the trade war cannot be won. Trump can't win this, okay? This doesn't mean that I don't recognize some of the destructive elements of so-called free trade policies over the last 30 years. Given where we started at the beginning of Trump's presidency, getting in a trade war with Canada is not something that's going to be good for us or our economy or the American people. It's absolutely pathetic and embarrassing.